Today's daf is daf Mem Zayin Amid Aleph. So the last thing we learned about was the Mishnah where an ox gored a cow and it caused the animal to miscarry. And the question is, was this as a result of the damage or not? And we were discussing instances where either the baby calf belonged, and then also the converse, where the animal that did the damage was pregnant, and whether the vlad is culpable as well or not. So we are up to the Zayin Amar about 7 lines at the top of the page. Rabba said, Ein shamin lepora bifne atzma v'vlada bifne atzma. For example, let's say the victim. The victim was an animal, a pregnant cow. So the cow was a victim, and also the baby calf. So how do you assess how to pay for the baby calf? Do you take the baby calf and you focus on it separately? The baby calf might be worth on the market $50, or do we say, look at the cow, a pregnant cow? The pregnant cow was this cow before it was pregnant was worth $100, and now that it's pregnant, it's worth $120. So do you pay? For the pregnant cow, do you pay $20 because of the additional pregnancy, or do you focus just on the baby calf? And the baby calf on the market is worth $50, so you have to pay that. How do we view it? So says Rabbi, "Ein shamin lepara b'fnei atzma v'vlad b'fnei atzma." You want to assess the victims. You don't assess the baby calf on its own. El shamin levlad al gabe para. You assess the vlad as part of the para. If not, it will cost a lot more than mazik. And more will ask in a minute, so who cares? Who asked you to be mazik? The same thing applies to you cut off the hand of your eved, the eved of your friend. You don't just say, let's look at if you have a complete eved, how much are you willing to money to accept so I cut the right hand off your eved? What you rather do is on the slave market, a person without a hand versus a person with a hand. Obviously, a person with a hand is worth more, but it's a lot less than if you just focus on the hand itself. Same thing that field of your friend. You damage one row of let's say of grains. If you just focus on that one row, it's worth X amount of dollars. But if you look at the entire field, what's the field worth with or without? It's different. So the Achram have a whole chakira attack. When you damage one row of the vegetables, let's say of the grains, is how do we view it? Did you just damage one row, or you damage the entire field? The fact that the Gemara says over here is that you pay. In other words, this din over here, we say how much do you pay, not according to this one row. You look at the entire field minus a row compared to what it was if the row was there. Is that because that's how you view the damages? Or that's the din in payment? Now, as far as damage is concerned, you damaged the row. You did a lot of damage. But the trader says when it comes to payment, you pay, what's the field worth with or without? Or do we say, no, that's the damage? And we'll see them in the Gemara's answer. Why taka when it comes to a vlad? Don't you pay for the vlad separately? How do you damage the vlad? If the din is that what? That you're supposed to focus on the vlad on its own. So what do you tell me? It'll cost a mazik a lot of money. So, because the mazik has an argument, para ma'abarta azikosach, para ma'abarta shaminlach. I damaged a pregnant. In other words, the damage seems from the word in the Gemara here that the damage, not the payment. I damaged a cow that was a pregnant cow, which is worth $120, and that's what I paid for. The cow without a pregnancy would have been $100. Now a pregnant cow is $120, so I reduced it to $120. I did not damage a vlad on itself.
The actual assessment process. Why is there a svara to say you look at a davar like bala oil?
It's not what I mean, because the pile is bala oil, because the baby calf is sitting there on the ground.
Yeah, but the Shasta has it. It wasn't.
It's like coming together. It's like the coming together. Yeah, but it's like coming together. You made a bala oil. There's an interesting chakir in Achronim.
Because you're not looking at two separate things.
That's the answer, the Gemara. That's the fine answer.
Cow attack.
You're a pregnant cow.
Yeah, not
so you're giving more logic to what the Gemara concludes. You're adding more logic what the Gemara concludes.
What is the svara?
I'll tell you. There's a chakir in Achronim, and it's actually Machlek Yoshenim. What happens if the owner of the vlad is different than the owner of the cow? Like we were looking before. Then do we still say this word here that look? It's only $20 difference, and that's what the vlad bala vlad gets. Or in that case, we say, two different owners. Then we have to focus on the vlad, and that goes back to the first chakir of what damage did you do when you damage a row in the field? Did you damage, Let's say the row belongs to one person and the rest of it belongs to another person. Did you damage a row or did you damage a field? And the fact that two owners, exactly. So that's where the Chakira comes to play. How do we use then two different owners? Okay, let's continue. Shita, part of the chad, v'la the chad, and the two different owners, pitma, if let's say the animal itself, when the animal is pregnant, true, it's because of the vlad, but not just the stomach, it becomes bigger. The entire body becomes bigger, the face becomes bigger, everything becomes bigger, which means that there's more hide, or the hide is more stretched, there's more, the whole entire animal is greater. Then that benefit is the bal potter. No question, even though the indirect cause is because of the vlad, but the animal now is worth more because it's a bigger animal. That goes to the balpara. What about nafcha, the stomach part? With there, it's not just indirectly. That's directly as a result of this move of this vlad. What happens then? Who gets that benefit? My the papa, that goes to the balpara as well. The fact is true. It's directly because of the vlad, but the vlad is a vlad. This is the part of stomach that grew, that swelled. And that is a direct result of the vlad. They should divide. We divide it. Okay, next Mishnah. This is a case where I was given permission, Reuben and Shimon. Reuben owns a field, and he gave Shimon permission to put some of his wares in that field. And then, as a result of that, Reuben's cow got hurt. Is Shimon responsible? Or Reuben's cow broke those pots and pans. Is Reuben responsible? Versus in a case where Shimon went in there without permission. We're going to have a machlekes between Rebbe and Chachamim. What does permission actually mean? How far does it mean? Do we take this permission? Says the Gemara, Mishnah. The Mishnah will give it 3 examples, and Taisus wants to tell us that each example adds a layer of a chiddush. The other one, the first one is hakada, a potter. Shehechnis kedei reisa l'chaz, brought all his pots and pans into a courtyard, made out of clay, a balabais, somebody else's. Let's say Shimon went into Reuben's field, shalai b'shus, without permission. And then what happened was the shavram behem the shabalabais. The balabais animal walked by and broke all the wares. Potter, your potter. But number one, and the opposite is v'im huske behen. If the animal of Reuben, the owner of the field, got hurt, then Balak says chayv. You had no right to be there, so the chayv. That's obvious. That's obvious. But then what happens? V'im hechni is bishus. What happens? He did get permission to bring it in. And the owner of the chutz's cow walks by. Knows Reuben gave Shimon permission to bring his things in. Then Reuben's cow went and broke them. Reuben takes responsibility. Because when he gave permission, it's as if he's saying, and I'll make sure that my animal doesn't break your pots. What do you mean I gave you permission? I gave permission, and I'll make sure that I don't break it. We will have a discussion. Am I also going a step further and making sure that nobody else's animals break it either, or just my own animal? But I'm definitely making sure that my animal doesn't break it. What about the other way around? If I gave permission, does that mean that if your pots hurt my animal, it's my problem? Or that far I don't go, and I say, look, just because I gave permission, I'll make sure that I don't break your pots, but you've got to make sure that you don't hurt my animal. We'll see in the Gemara. In the Mishnah, actually, Hechnis, that's case number 1. Now the same thing is Hechnis Peiroisa l'chotz balabais. The guy brought his fruits, not his pots, but he brought his fruits into the. And why? Because when it comes to pots and pans being out of clay, they break so easily. There's a chance to say that maybe the balabais took responsibility. My cow will break it. When it comes to fruits, they don't break really. So maybe the balabais did not take upon himself to make sure that his animal doesn't ruin it. And the chiddush is that's yes. But the im hecht is b'shus, the is responsible. When he said, "Come in," he as if he said, even though he didn't spell it out, it's tantamount to saying, "I'll make sure that my animal doesn't ruin your fruits." Okay, then, but even fruits, can get messy and dirty and solid and all that. Then even a bigger chiddush. Let's say you brought your animal into my chutzah without permission, but not and you caused damage to the owner of Reuben's cows. Of course, you're responsible. But nogach who shoyre shabalabais chayiv. If the balabai is what do you call it? But if he if he damaged the balabai shoyr, then he is chayiv because he went out of shus. Case number 4: Nofal the animal fell into the boir, the hevish memov, and the water now is foul. So he ruined the water. The guy had a what do you call it, cistern, and now you ruined it. And chayiv, of course, you had no permission to go there. The shimon is chayiv. If the father or the son of Reuben was happened to be inside a boil, and now the animal fell on them and crushed them, Mishal Masakaifa, you had no right to be there. But if he went in there to shus, then Baal HaChotzer chayiv. Then the owner of Chotzer is chayiv. But he, as if he's saying, I'll make sure that your animal doesn't cause it ruins property. Rebbe says, "Bekulun ein chayiv achi kabel ol lishmer." Rebbe says that the Baal Reuben, just because I said you can bring your things in, does not mean I take any responsibility unless it's clearly spelled out that I'm going to take responsibility. So this is Gemara says. Says the Gemara, the very first case was Shimon brought in without permission. Therefore, Shimon is responsible twofold. If his kalim hurt Reuben's cow, the Balabos's cow, he's responsible. And if the Balabos's cow breaks a kalim, then too bad. So if you stop right there, what's the inference? What happens if he had permission? Let's say he had permission. What would be if the Baal Chatzer's animal walks by and gets hurt by these kalim? Then Shimon would not be chayiv because he had permission. Just because I had permission does that mean I have no responsibility whatsoever to make sure that my kalim don't cause any damage? It seems to the Mishnah that no, I have no responsibilities. Because I didn't spell it out, you gave permission, that's it, I'm free. Which is exactly what Rebbe said at the end of the Mishnah. Rebbe said at the end of the Mishnah that you're not responsible for anything unless you spelled it out. So if Shimon received your shus to bring his pots and pans in, and he did not say, okay, I'll make sure that your animal doesn't get hurt from my pots and pans, then he's not chayiv. He didn't take any responsibility whatsoever. Hamani Rebbe. So the first part of the Mishnah seems to follow Rebbe. The Amar says, if we didn't make it up, I did not, you gave permission, fine. I did not take on any responsibility to make sure that my pots do not hurt your animal. Aim was safe. And now look at the end of that first case of the Mishnah. But im hechnis b'rishus, if he brought him into shus, no, the balabas gave him permission. Did the balabas say that I'm going to make sure that my animal doesn't break your pots and pans? Not at all. And yet we say that if the balabas's animal breaks the guy's pots and pans, the balabas is responsible. It's as if he made it up. Look, I'm giving permission, and I'll make sure that my animal doesn't hurt your pots. Which the converse would be that you who brought your pots in, you're making sure that your pots don't hurt my animal. And yet our Mishnah, and we just said in the beginning of the Mishnah that it seems that these responsibilities, if they haven't been spoken out, are not accepted. And yet here it says that Balachotz chayiv, that the Balachotz, even though he didn't speak it out, that when he gave permission, it's as if he's tantamount to saying, I am going to make sure that my animal doesn't break your pots, which follows the Rabbanan. You don't have to spell it out. The Amri say, if I gave permission, that means I'm going to make sure that my animal doesn't break your pots. And if you accepted permission to bring your pots and pans in, it's as if you're saying that my pots and pans are not going to hurt your animal. And so the beginning of the Mishnah is Rebbe. The next part of the Mishnah is the Rabbanon, and then the Mishnah concludes with that you're not chayiv unless you clearly say that you're going to take responsibility. The beginning of the Mishnah is Rebbe, because the inference clearly like Rebbe. The end of the Mishnah is Rebbe. In the middle is Rabbanon. The tablet's a very good question. Misha Shanazu, La Shanazu. I have to conclude there's two different authors in the Mishnah. Rava says no. You're mixing things up, Rava says. Because there are two sides here. One is that the Balabai gave permission. Is the Balabai saying that my animal is not going to break your things? That's one side of it. The other side of it is when you receive permission, are you saying that your pots are not going to hurt my cow? Says Rava. Kula Rabbani, the time is Rabbanan. Ubeshus Shmiras Kedeides Kibul Olav Balachotzer. The guy, the Chacham hold the guy from the pots. Definitely, the Chacham say that the guy, if he lets the guy come in with the pots, it's the Balabas saying, "I'm going to make sure that your pots don't get broken," and therefore, and not only that, I feel an ruach. Even wasn't his cow. If I'm saying I gave permission, then you're responsible to make sure that it's safe because I gave you permission. My insurance will cover you. I'm taking care of you as well. So therefore, and that has nothing to do. But the Bala Hakedetas themselves didn't accept anything. Didn't accept anything. The Balak data did not accept responsibility. Says the Gemara, when do we say that if you brought Pedis to the Chotzer Balabayis and so on and so forth, this is where you say that if you had no permission and if the Balabas's animal got hurt, you, the owner of the pots and pans of the pots, is responsible as only the Balabayis animal slipped. Or the Balabais, for example, started eating it. Let's say your fruits. The Balabais animal started eating it, and then it got sick and it died. Then even though you had no right to bring your fruits here, you're not responsible. Why? Who asked the Balabais? Yeah, who told him to eat? That was the Balabais' animal decision to eat. Even though you placed a stumbling block there, the Balabais.
It's not even a shame that this is the normal way of an animal.
We'll see. True, but Balabais' animal is the one who ate it, decided to eat it. So
you brought your fruit.
Yeah, but who's ashamed here?
My animals.
But who's ashamed here?
I'm sorry, you expect my animal's not going to eat?
It's just food. Yeah, nothing. But I'm not responsible for it. So I'm indirect cause. It's like a cause. I didn't do anything directly. So here, Amar Avlisha will give the animal slipped. I will also the animal ate the potter. You are potter. Why? My time at the Havlish because you shouldn't have eaten it. Nobody asked him to eat it. In other words, that Taisa explains, the animal brought it upon himself. The animal brought the hezek upon himself, and therefore, in this case, the mazik, which is the owner of the apple, is not the mazik. The animal brought the hezek on himself. That's different, yeah. And it's not like the animal slipped by accident. The animal went down and started eating. I think, like you said, I think Rab was like half asleep when he said this. This is a very chutzpahdik expression. I think he didn't really focus completely on this. Because the time looked at the if you place poison in front of your friend's animal, you potter medini adam, you chai medini shemayim. It's why you potter medini adam, because it's not really food, so the animal shouldn't have eaten it. Some mother said normally people don't eat poison, so therefore you're not responsible, even though you did the wrong thing. So you have to pay. I will pay this. If you place fruit in front of the pot, what do you want an animal? An animal eats. This is what your question was. The animal normally eats, so as if you fed it directly into the animal, you should be chayiv. According to Rav Svara, the animal shouldn't have eaten. You're wrong. You misunderstood the brayse. Who didn't feel the pain of nami pot in the other? If you put fruits there, at the end of the day, you're merely a cause. The animal brought the hezek upon themselves. But how come so why do you say a chiddush by poison? Say a bigger chiddush. You put fruits there. The afilu sama mavas navi. The chiddush is not that you put them in the other. No, the chiddush is not that you put it on. The chiddush you chayv din shemayim. By payers, I understand why you chayv din shemayim. At the end of the day, I cause the animal to get sick and die. But when it comes to sama mavas, which is not food, maybe I shouldn't even be liable medina shemayim. And the chiddush is you chayv medina shemayim. Not the chiddush you put them in the other. One way of looking at it. Or by saying, who told you poison? We're talking about something which is not edible. Sama mavas nami bafrasta. The haina paid it. You gave it. You put in some kind of a poisonous grass, and so it's mamish grass, which animal eats, but this grass happens to be poisonous. So therefore, it's no different than the pedish we're talking about right now. And you put them in the other. Why? The animal shouldn't have eaten. But what we do learn from here is you chayiv din shemayim, because then you were goyim. Yeah, done the wrong thing. Says more further. Next, I'll ask a question. Is a woman went in to grind wheat into, let's say she went into somebody's house. Without permission. The animal of the balabas ate the trua. The balabas is potter. But the who's clear, the animal got damaged, got hurt from eating this wheat. Chayev, she's chayev. Why should she be chayiv? Name it. Let us say, who asked your animal to eat these grains? Amri, Sigmar said back to him, I understand your question. Umi adifim maslisin. Our mission also talks about Petas. How did Rav translate Petas? Not that they ate the Petas, slipped the Petas. Slipped. Slipped the Petas. I'm over here. Who said that the animal ate the grains of this wheat? The animal slipped or got hurt somehow, stuck itself with these pieces of wheat. And therefore, nothing to do with eating. Eating could be potter. Because sorry. That's the first case. What is that? Sorry, yeah? said, "You want to write with the cordele, my cordele." In fact, what was the Gemara's question? The Gemara didn't realize that he could be talking about slipping. It makes sense in our Mishnah, the Tani im huska behen. It says bohen. Bohen is that's not the word you use for eating. Huska behen sounds like it slipped on the grass. So slipped. Im huska. He said he got damaged. Could be a direct result of eating. Like Tani bohen. So that's why the Nachshon thought we're talking about eating. The idach amalach leishna. Just because it doesn't say behen doesn't mean it's any different. Okay, no doubt one way or another, but according to Rav, the animal didn't have to eat it. Toshma coming here, hechnis shaydel chatzabalabayish lebeshus. It said the Braisa. He brought your shirt into the courtyard of the balabayis without permission. The ochal chitin, and he ate the wheat from the balabas. The hitris, and the animal got sick. The mason animal died. Potter, you got potter. Animal got diarrhea and died. You got potter. But in hechnis b'shus, but if you brought the animal permission, then balachotzachayiv, and he ate the grains and everything else. Sounds like that's what it sounds like. He ate the grains and everything else. Then the balbas is chayiv because you took upon yourself responsibility that the animal is not going to die as a result of you. What about the Rav Svara? Who said the animal? Who told the animal to eat from the grains? Omar Rava says Rava. This is a case of where he said to the animal, "Yeah, come into my property, no problem at all." Tak, if I gave you the shus, then the balabos takes on a certain responsibility. The balabos takes on responsibility that your animal is not going to die as a result of me. Like we said before, that Rabbanan hold that even though we didn't spell it out, if I take responsibility that your animal is not going to die as a result of me. But we're talking about a case where you went in without your shus. You went without your shus, and then the balabos's animal ate from whatever you brought in without the shus. Are you responsible now? That's a different case altogether. If I give you animal permission, you come into that means I'm saying I'm taking responsibility, which is how the Chacham learn. Even if the animal decides to commit suicide, interesting. This guy said that I'll make sure the animal is safe. So he's responsible. That's a different case altogether. So that's why if the animal ate the wheat and the animal died as a result of that, the balabas is responsible because he said, "I'll take care of your animal." It has nothing to do with our case where you brought it without permission. And the balabas animal got hurt as a result of whatever you brought in. Whether, if you ate it, then we say that you are not responsible. Who asked the balabas animal to eat it? Further, let's say that we say the balabas took upon himself. In other words, according to the Rabbanan, you don't have to say, "I'm taking responsibility." The moment I gave permission, it's implied. According to Rebbe, I had to clearly spell out, yes, I had to enunciate, I am taking responsibility of your animal. Fine. Either one. How far do we say this responsibility? Only that I'm going to take care of your animal, that my animals or my items, they won't cause damage, or I'm going to make sure that nobody's animals are going to cause you. How far is like a shayman? Mama's like a shayman there? How's it go? He took on protection. Man, what's it? Do we say the naf shehu the kabbalah? I'm only taking responsibility that my items are not going to cause any damage. I do my film through the kabbalah. I'm going to make sure your animal is safe in my property and nobody's going to hurt your animal. Toshma coming here, and like my dog wanted damage and all that. Toshma coming here. Toshma Abiyah Basimon and Benezik in the Bekarna. We was learning a brayso in Karna's house. We're learning the laws of Nezikin. This is what the brayso said. So Shimon brought his fruits into the Reuben's property without permission. Who shoy came in? Not the Reuben shoy, but a strange shoy. Doesn't belong there. Yeah, exactly. So you brought your pay into Reuben's property, came along a shoy from outside and ate up all the fruits. What's it in? Is the Reuben responsible? So what happened was, so what happened was like this: Shimon brought him without permission into Reuben's property, but it wasn't Reuben's cow that ate up the fruit, because then we learned before Reuben is potter. It was a Levi's cow that came in and ate up the fruits. Potter. Who's potter? Obviously, Reuben, the owner of the place of potter. But the im hechnis b'shus. That's what it seems. But the im hechnis b'shus. If Shimon had permission to bring his fruits into Reuben's property, and then Levi's cow came in and ate it, chayiv. Now l'chayda, who's chayiv and who's potter? The owner, Reuben. So it seems clear to me that Reuben's chayiv if Levi's cow came in and ate the fruits. Knows when he said, "Come in permission, I'm taking responsibility." incompletely. Man potter, man chayv, la potter bal chatzit. If Levi came in and Shimon had no permission to put his fruits in, then Reuben is potter, and chayv is bal chatzit. Says Gemara, Ari, no. Potter bal ashay, chayv bal ashay. The question is whether Levi is chayv. What happened was Shimon brought his fruits at the Reuben's property, and Levi's cow went in and ate those fruits. So if Shimon had no right to put his fruits there, then Levi is potter. And if Shimon had a right to put the fruits in, then Levi's chayv. The question is, why should it matter to Levi if Shimon had a right to be there now? But the fact is that with Shimon's fruits and Levi's cow had no right to eat it. What's the relevance here? If Shimon had reshus to bring the fruits there, not Ika, what's the difference? Amri, I'll tell you what. Remember the laws of Shane. What's the animal doing? It's eating the fruits. That's Shane. Shane is chayv b'shus hanizik. So if Shimon had permission to bring his fruits into Reuben's property, it's as if it's Shimon's reshus, Levi's cow, now it's chayv al shen. But if Shimon had no permission there, it's like not in the shus hanizik. And what's it in if an animal eats in shus rabim, which we learned doesn't mean shus rabim, means not in the shus hanizik. You're potter. So if Shimon had no right to bring the fruits, then Levi's cow is potter. We're not talking about Reuben, how far his responsibility is. We're talking about Levi's, the owner of the cow, the strange cow. Says the Gemara. Is in Bishu, I'm going to say issues. If Shimon had reshus to be there, Havlashem Bishus Nizik. So then Levi's cow is eating, consuming the food in the house, in the property of the Nizik. B'Shem Bishus Nizik Chayavis. It's Chayav. Or B'Shaloi Bishus. If Shimon had no right to bring his fruits, they have a Leshem Bishus Rabim. And B'Shem Bishus Rabim P'tur is potter. So no raya regarding the question that we asked. Toshma, I'll bring another proof. Hechnish Shoyde L'Chotza Balabayis. Not fruits. But Shimon brought his cow into Reuben's property. So it depends. He had no right to. Came along Levi and gored Shimon's cow in Reuben's property. Potter. He is potter. Again, we're going to assume that what potter means over here, the Reuben is potter. It's not responsibility. But if Reuben gave Shimon permission, and then Levi's cow came in and gored, chayiv that Reuben is responsible. And this answers our question that when Reuben said, "Bring your animal here," it means I'll take all precautions, not just for my own animals, but from anybody's animals. Here, it means Reuben definitely, because if it's Levi's cow, what does it matter? Because remember, Keren in Reshus Rabim is also chayiv. So what are you going to tell me now? Why should it, as far as Levi's cow is concerned, why should there be a difference if Shimon had a right to bring his cow into Reuben's property or he did not have a right? Either way, Shimon's cow is Keren, and Keren you chayiv everywhere. Doesn't matter where it is. So L'chayda must be talking about Reuben himself, whether he's responsible or not. Does anyone know? You remember, if Tarfon holds, there's a difference by Keren if it's in the Shus Rabim or in the Shus Hanizik. And if Tarfon says Meshuna Keren, Keren is different than if it's actually in the Shus Hanizik, you pay Nezek Shalom. If it's a Shus Rabim, it's Chatzi Nezek, and Shus Hanizik Nezek Shalom. And we're talking about Levi. But if Shimon had no right to be in Reuben's property, so then it's like it's like in the Shus Rabim, so how much should Levi pay? Like a Tam Oni Chatzi Nezek. But if Shimon had a right to be in Reuben's property, then it's like this is the Shus Hanizik, and then Levi has to pay Nezek Shalom. And that's what it means over here. The potter doesn't mean potting. Answer means potter from Nezek Shalom. So the mother, loy potter balashay v'chay balashay. Talking about Levi. What's the relevance here? Whether Shimon had a right to be in Reuben's property, not as far as Levi is concerned. His animal causes damage, he has to pay. Name Amri Hamani Natav. This father of Tarfon. The Amar says Meshuna Keren b'Chotzer Hanizik. That Keren in the Chotzer Hanizik is different than Nezek Shalom Mishalom. So Bishus, if Shimon had permission to be in Reuben's property, have like Keren b'Chotzer Hanizik. He's in the Chotzer Hanizik or Mishalom Nezek Shalom. When we say Chayiv, it means Nezek Shalom. Shaloi Bishus have like Keren Bishus Rabim. Loi Mishalma, all you pay is Chatzi Nezek. It will stop over here tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem.